In the afternoon of June 25th, 2009, I was towing along with my convertible in the 101 North Freeway from Burbank back to my home in Encino, into which I just moved 2 months earlier. The top was down, the California sun was blazing, and as always, my music was blasting loud. And then this afternoon, it was I Want to Be Where You Are by Michael, a great little song he recorded for Motown in 1971. I remember thinking that it sounded particularly vibrant and exciting in that afternoon. What an astounding performance from a 13-year-old kid. I remember the day it was released at the time. I wonder if he would ever leave the Jackson 5. No, I had decided they were just too close. Core of the Sky was next on my CD's lineup. By the time that was issued in 1973, the Jackson Five's career at Motown was in a steady nosedive. But who cared about such things back then? Certainly not me. Each brother had a chance to sing on Corner of the Sky, and for any fan of the group, that was all the proof needed to suggest that Michael wasn't being singled out. I smiled at this memory of my youthful novelty as I drove along. It certainly felt as if I was having a nostalgic Jackson 5 moment like no other. I want my life to be something more than long, Michael sang as I pulled into my driveway. As soon as I got home, the news hit that Michael had been taken to the hospital suffering from respiratory arrest. I was suspicious. He'd been rehearsing for a series of 50 concerts to take place from July to March 2010 in London, his great comeback, or so it was hoped. It was a lot to take on, and anyone who knew Michael knew that when he was in preparation for these kinds of endeavors, he was prone to severe panic attacks. I recall what happened when he was supposed to do just one show at the Beacon Theater in New York a number of years ago. He had like a panic attack that resembled a heart attack, and it was not only about the performance at hand, a single show, but also about his family marriage to Lisa Marie Presley. He ended up in the hospital. His handler, Bob Jones, and the media. It was some sort of rare rib infection. When I asked Bob about it years later, he confessed. We thought it was a heart attack. It wasn't. He simply lost it because of the circumstances of his life at the time. The boy was totally messed up. That's all I can tell you. I figured this latest scare was more of the same. I wish it had been. The news that Michael Joseph Jackson had died after being rushed to the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center hit most people with the kind of defining moment impact of President John F. Kennedy's death or that of his son, John, or Princess Diana, John Lennon. People will always remember what they were doing when they learned of Michael's passing. I immediately went back to work reporting the story for CBS News. The news cycle was fast moving and difficult to reconcile, especially when it became clear that probably Michael's respiratory arrest was the result of a drug overdose. Numerous vials of the dangerous anesthesia, Depriven propofol, were found in his rented Humbly Hills estate shortly after a nurse named Sherilyn Lee went on the record as saying that Jackson had asked her to seek it out for him. It was taken intravenously and should never be administered outside a hospital. Many doctors went on the record saying that while they have heard of the drug being used by healthcare professionals who have already access to it, they had not heard of it being used as a sleep aid medication. Propofol induces coma and does not induce sleep. Dr. Zeev Khan, the chair of the Anthology Department at the University of California, Irvine, said, I could put you in a coma for as many days as you want. And in fact, an instead of care units who have patients who are on a ventilator, that's one of the drugs they use. Dr. Rakesh Mehra of the Anesthesiology Department at the Stanford University School of Medicine added that the drug can definitely lead to respiratory arrest without proper monitoring. Propofol slows down the heart rate and slows down the respiratory rate and slows down the vital functions of the body, he explained. Not enough carbon dioxide exits the body, not enough oxygen enters, and the situation could cause the heart to abruptly stop. It is as dangerous as it comes, Khan said. You will die if you will give yourself or somebody will give you probable and you're not in the proper medical hands. I wanted to hit my vein. I wanted to be asleep. Michael said to listeners of the drug he so wanted, which she refused to give for him. I don't even want to wait a second for it to get into my system. I want to be knocked out, asleep. It made sense. If it was chilling, Michael probably would have paid $1 million for a good night's sleep. He suffered from insomnia for many years, but that was the least of his problems. From insomnia, he also had lupus, the chronic autoimmune disease that had plagued him for years. Of course, he had vitiligo. If there was some dispute as to whether it was genetic or form brought as a consequence of skin bleaching agents he used over the years. There were other physical alignments as well as having to do with his back, his knees, and other problems associated with Alexander's body as it ages. Also, much of the plastic surgery he had over the years began to affect him as he aged. He is deeply ashamed of the way he looked as a result of the plastic surgery, much of which he regretted it and the ravages of lupus. So he would therefore dress in strange outfits to hide his body, with standard issue surgical masks and hats and sunglasses. The stranger he looked, the more attention he attracted, and the more attention he generated, the greater his unhappiness. It was a vicious circle, and not one with which he was unfamiliar. On top of everything else, he suffered from severe bouts of depression. It's no wonder he was given so many different kinds of prescriptions. The big question, of course, is whether or not Michael was addicted. For anyone privy to his real world, this question merely stated the obvious. Of course, he was, and everyone knew it. If he could get his hands on some Duramol, you can be sure he'd do it, said one person close to him. I can't count the number of times people close to him tried interventions. There was no reaching him. You can't help a person who doesn't want it. Sources close to Jackson told CNN Dr. Sanjay Gupta that the singer actually traveled with the anesthesiologist who would take him down at night and bring him back up during a world tour in the mid 1990s. It's true that Michael was used to getting what he wanted as in his life, and if it was a certain drug to ease his emotional or physical pain, he expected to be able to get his hands on it. No questions asked. However, he was not a man who just wanted to get high for kicks. He wasn't scoring his drugs for some roadie behind a tour bus. He was getting them from licensed doctors who were answering his cries for help. Should some of those doctors have known better than to just give Michael what he wanted rather than find some better way to treat him. Obviously, but one put it best to me when he said, we were sitting there in the room with him, and he's crying and he's in pain, and he wants to sleep in a week and hasn't slept in a week, and he begs and begs you for help. You had to help. You had to. People on the outside found it easy to judge and point fingers. You have to be there to understand his level of physical and emotional pain. It's telling that the drug he most seemed to crave was a kind of anesthesia. He wanted to be numb, not only to his pain, but to the role, as if he had had enough and he wanted out. Michael's finances were always the subject of great interest, and the most common question at his death was, how broke was he? There was no simple answer to that query, and anyone on the outside of Michael's circle who tries to assemble bits and pieces of financial information in order to get a clear understanding of what's going on is a person who doesn't know what he's talking about. I spent many hours with Michael's brilliant attorney John Brecka, who structured Michael's finances. Michael was the best man at John's wedding in 1988. That's how close they were. As much as I know about his wealth, I still don't fully understand the details and when reporting the story. Have never tried to act as if I do. I know this much though. As long as there was $1 million somewhere that Michael could get his hands on, even if some of it was hidden away in a pillowcase by his kid's nanny Grace, he was fine. And yes, apparently that would happen. God was the shrewd businessman of the 1980s who stayed on top of every one of his bank accounts and demanded full disclosure of detail from Branca, who worked for Michael from 1980 until 2006, and then returned shortly before his death. Though Brecka came back to a messy quagmire of debt and asset leverage that would probably baffle one of the most expert financier, Michael was, for the most part, not that concerned about any of it. Again, the trial at Santa Maria can be pointed as the primary reason Michael lost interest in his wealth. Nothing much mattered to him after the trial. He told people close to him that the reason he had signed to do the London concerts was not because of the hundreds of millions of dollars that could be generated. It was, as he put it, because our kids are old enough to appreciate what I do. Yeah, I mean, young enough to still do it. I don't care if people don't show up, he said, maybe a little disingenuously. Of course, the tickets sold out unbelievably quickly. The public still wanted Michael. That much was clear. Judging from the way he performed in the brief clip of Daniel Taraborrelli released after his death by AEG Live, the concert's promoters, Michael was in fine form. He seemed to really want to make a point with this show that he was back and still the king. He looked, at least from this particular clip, as if he could have pulled it off. Amazingly, despite his lack of confidence and his broken down body, the man still had what it took. He looked goddamn good. That said, it would be foolhardy to think that the coming dates were going off without a hitch. After all, nothing in Michael's life and career in recent times was ever easy. There are probably plenty of canceled concerts on the horizon due to illness, exhaustion, dehydration, and all the other common maladies of performers under duress. Still, the shows he would have gone through would have been memorable. For any diehard fan, it seemed Michael Jackson was really ready to deliver. Moreover, the fact that he had brought back the great duo of the 1980s who helped mastermind his biggest success. His former lawyer, John Branca, and former manager, Frank DeLeo. suggested that maybe he had his eye on the future and maybe, just maybe, he actually cared about it. The last time I saw Michael Jackson face to face was on verdict day in Santa Maria when I congratulated him on his victory, but he seemed to not understand what was happening. The haunted look in his eyes that day disturbed me for many months after the trial. I spoke to him on the phone only twice in the intervening 4 years. Both very brief conversations for magazine stories about career plans that didn't materialize. When I sent him a copy of my Elizabeth Taylor biography, he called to tell me he enjoyed it. He sounded good, but how could anyone know for sure? 10 minutes after he hung up, I received another phone call, this one from one of his flacks. Don't you dare use Michael's compliment as an endorsement of your book. I was told, how annoying. Please, I told the caller. I've been around a long time. I know better. Give me a break. The handler signed into the phone. We've all been around a long time, she said, now seemingly exhausted. Maybe too long, huh? I agreed. Yeah, maybe a little. I was at CBS News getting ready to tape a segment about Michael's family when the will was filed. As I stood among my colleagues and pored over the contents, the mention of Diana Ross caught my eye. It was his wish that she, not Debbie Rowe, care for his children in the event that Catherine not be able to do so. It seemed absolutely appropriate to me. Michael lived with Diane for a short time when he first moved to Los Angeles at the age of 11. He idolized her and she died upon him. Even though she had a busy life and was about to leave the Supremes for her solo career. Then she went on to have 5 children of her own, not one of whom was ever in any kind of public scandal. She and Michael had been close recently, but that's only because Michael wasn't close to many people in the last 3 years of his life. What a tribute to their enduring friendship that he would trust her with what meant the most to him, his children. You're going to be a great, great star, she once told him over breakfast when he was 11. According to what he once told me, then with maternal purpose, she added, now eat your cereal. It was as if Michael considered Diana's prediction to be mandate because certainly there was never a bigger star than Michael Jackson. Whether it was the beautiful melodies of his music, the harmony as it poured out of his voice, or the statical like dance moves that reached an ultimate crescendo with his very defining moonwalk. Michael Jackson had a unique ability to inspire, to give hope to unite, where others have tried, and often in vain, to use their talents and skills in a way that honors God and the inherent goodness of his nature. Michael Jackson was able to unite millions of people, regardless of race, creed, religion, age, gender, sexuality, or nationality, behind messages of service and sacrifice, peace and love, hope and change, and the freedom of expression. Whether through songs like Heal the World, We Are the World, or Man in the Mirror, he brought the plight of the world suffering to the attention of all as only he could. In many respects, he gave a voice to the voiceless, a face to the faceless, and hope to the hopeless. If a little African American boy from Gary, Indiana, could make it to the 2,700-acre Neverland Valley Ranch in Santa Barbara, California, then maybe it was possible for anyone to make it. With hard work and determination, maybe we could all reach for our dreams. Michael Jackson certainly did just that, didn't he? Michael's memorial service on July 7, 2009 at the Staples Center in Los Angeles was Of course, a sad and crushing day, not only for those of us who know about him, of course, for all of his fans around the network's premier anchor, Carrie Katie Couric. The sight of Michael's brother carrying his casket into the Staples Center, each wearing a canary yellow tie, Michael's favorite color, and one white glove, a tribute to one of Michael's most familiar iconic images, seemed surreal to me. How bad it came to this. I suddenly had a flashback of seeing the Jackson 5 on stage at the Valley Farm Music Fair in Pennsylvania in the 1970s when I was a youngster. They were kids back then and at the height of their Motown success. Each resplendent, resplendent in a yellow stage wearing a thick row of sequins lining each side of the trousers. It seemed like a lifetime ago. As heartbreaking as the day of the memorial service was, there was also many things that will never be forgotten. For instance, most people present will never forget Jermaine's big moment, much the way Michael had his career-defining moment in the Motown 25 television special so many years ago, when he wowed the world with his performance of Billie Jean. Jermaine took the spotlight of his brother's service in a way that will, doubtless, define him once and for all as a brilliant singer. Jermaine has always had such a great heart as a performer and a voice that was always a strong counterpart in Michael's and the Jackson 5. His career was obviously eclipsed by his more famous brothers, though. Therefore, it seemed how ironic and maybe even appropriate that he be the only Jackson family member given a platform to perform on a stage at the Staples Center. He didn't disappoint. In short, he was magnificent, fighting back tears as he sang Michael's favorite song, Charlie Chapman's Smile, a song whose message is as simple as if a gut wrenching smile though your heart is breaking. Many other moving moments during the service came to mind, not the least in which was Brooke Shields' heartfelt reminiscence of her friend Michael. Though she hadn't seen him since 1991, she recounted vivid memories of their time together in the 1980s, when they were truly an odd showbiz company. We both understood what it was like to be in the spotlight from a very, very young age, she said. Both of us needed to be adults very early, but when we worked together, we were two little kids having fun. There are other highlights during a 90-minute service, which sometimes seem like a TV variety show as a memorial, such as Stevie Wonder's rendering of Never Dreamed You Leave in Summer, a song of his from the 1971 album Where I'm Coming From, that never seemed more appropriate. Jennifer Hudson's performance of Will You Be There also stands out in my mind. Barry Gordy's speech, Smokey Robinson's, and you couldn't forget Marlon Jackson's tearful commentary. The world, he said, will never understand what Michael had endured in his lifetime. Being judged and ridiculed, how much pain can one man ask? Maybe now, Michael, they will leave you alone. Nothing, though, could compare to the final moments of the service when a little girl no one had ever heard from before, 11-year-old Paris Jackson, did the one thing before her had ever been able to accomplish. She humanized Michael Jackson. Ever since I was born, she said through tears. Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine, flanked by memories of the family, including Janet, Rebby, and Latoya. The delicate little girl, I just want to say that I love him so much. Though it was a heartbreaking a moment as can be imagined as the service much as this one, it beautifully brought into sharp focus Michael's relationship with his children. It also served as a stark reminder that a family had lost a brother, a son, and a father. The fact that Paris stood on a stage with her siblings, Prince Michael first and second, 12 and 7, respectively, without masks, scarves, or other camouflage, might have upset Michael had he had been alive. In fact, there's no way he would have allowed it. However, the children's appearance did serve to show the world that they had been well raised by their father. They look fit and taken care of, intelligent and engaging. Unfortunately, after Michael's death, there will be questions raised about their biological paternity, unresolved at press time, and probably ever more 6 weeks after Michael's passing. I spoke to one of his brothers about the controversy. What a shame, he said. People don't get it that these kids are young and hurting, and that all these questions now being raised to do nothing but twist a knife. They were his kids. He raised them. He loved them. He loved. They love him back. That's enough for me. Indeed, at this point, maybe that should also be enough for the rest of the world. And that concludes the book. If you wanted to get this book, you could probably find it online, like on Amazon. It's a very great one. I guarantee it. And please, if you ever get older, please don't throw this away. Alright? Keep spraying all this information that's in the book. Keep keep spraying it. Like just do it. Like just open up the book and then just keep on sharing the same story over and over again. Alright. Anyways, I do hope you guys enjoyed this very long series on the Michael Jackson book. It was actually really fun to read. I started it on August 29th last year on Michael's birthday. And I finished it today in 2023. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this wonderful series. This is Chargers Boom signing off. See you later.